Good afternoon. I am Balaji Rajagopalan, and it is my honor to serve as the Dean of the Trulaske College of Business. Thank you for joining us today for this very, very special occasion. Today, we gather to recognize the legacy of a hardworking, committed, generous man, Mr. Richard Orin. This is a meaningful event for those of us at the college and also for his family, some of whom have taken the time to join us today, his daughter Rhonda Eisenstein, and his grandsons Eric Weissman and Matthew Eisenstein. Thank you so much for joining us. Rhonda, Eric, and Matthew, thank you for helping us celebrate a special man whose contributions live in the world of accounting, business, and also in this College of Business, and in the hearts of many of us for a long, long time. I joined the Trulaske College of Business this summer, and it did not take me long to hear the name Richard Orin and learn what it meant to many that have spent decades here in the College of Business. As you sat here today in the auditorium and listened to our speaker, you recognized the power that Mr. Richard Orin has in communicating the passion he had for ethics and how he not only wanted our students to learn about ethics and ethics in accounting, but wanted them to live a life that is filled with passion, commitment, generosity, and kindness for others. Mr. Orin began sponsoring the Richard Orin Ethics Symposium in 1997 in partnership with our School of Accountancy. In an article about the 2018 award for this honorary doctorate from MU, he noted, "For Richard, the true essence of public accounting is professional responsibility and ethics, and that these are the values that Richard has long sought to instill in others." End quote. These were not just sentiments that he carried with him in his mind and heart. He took action, sponsoring the symposium that has borne his name for more than a quarter of a century. Each year, the Orin Ethics Symposium speaker presents his or her story to a full crowd of students, faculty, staff, and members of the Mizzou and Columbia communities, as well as the accounting profession. Over the last 26 years, thousands of individuals have heard about the importance of ethics in accounting and business. If I were to make a conservative estimate, probably about 10,000 individuals have benefited. The lessons these speakers have imparted have left our college and the businesses and community across the country and have impacted people across the globe. This is only one piece of Richard Orin's rich and lasting legacy as a professional, as an individual. On behalf of the Trulaske College of Business, I'd like to thank you for joining us today, especially braving the weather here, even more so. It's my honor to turn over the program here to Dr. Vairam Arunachalam, Director of the School of Accountancy.
Thank you, Dean Rajagopalan. I really appreciate your opening remarks. I apologize for the weather, but this was not part of the plan. Today is a special day because we're here to honor Mr. Richard Orin, a beloved alumnus of the University of Missouri. As you know, Richard graduated in 1949 with a BSBA from the College of Business and Accountancy and received an honorary doctorate from Mizzou in 2018. Together, we worked for many years on developing the Orin Ethics Symposium. We started in 2003, and then again I joined him from 2008 onward. The symposium grew each year to become what it is today, a signature program devoted to a study of various aspects of ethics, corporate governance, fraud, regulation, leadership, and principled business. One conversation that I remember with Richard in 2007, is he said, Vairam, we need to go big. I said, yes, Richard, we need to go big. He said, let's go big or go home, right? So I said, let's go big. So I'm really pleased. I know Richard would be proud of this and pleased to have his daughter and grandchildren here as well. As Dean Rajagopalan mentioned, our students, alumni, and professionals have greatly benefited from the symposium. And of course, Richard's contributions did not end with the Ethics Symposium. For example, his encouragement led to a new course on ethics taught by Professor Elise Bartley. Elise, scholarships for ethics certification for students enrolled in the Center for Public Trust, which is an offshoot of the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy. And in the early years, support of some academic research as well. Last but not least, he touched so many people on a personal level, not the least of which were me and my wife, Alago. We looked up to him from many, many years of association with him and Isla, and learned a lot personally from him, kind of a surrogate father for us away from home. I want to take this opportunity to welcome and thank the Orin family again, Rhonda, Eric, and Matthew, for your desire to continue the legacy left behind by your father and grandfather that he left at the university. And my thanks would be incomplete if I didn't mention someone very dear to all of us, Isla Levitan. Isla, dear, I know you're going to be watching this. As I said to you yesterday on the phone, I knew you couldn't travel to be with us, but you're just as much a part of Richard's legacy at Mizzou as Richard's himself was. All these are just a few reflections of Richard's legacy. Just as importantly, as Mahatma Gandhi said, there are no goodbyes for us. Wherever you are, you will always be in my heart. Thank you. And Eric, may I please request you to come to the microphone? And face that way, please.
Thank you. You don't have to be a spiritual person to know that this is no accident. This is definitely my grandfather spicing it up a little bit for us here. And if you've ever heard him speak, he would not let all of you being cold stand in the way of a long talk. So I will not shorten my 45-minute speech just to honor him. I thought I should really... Okay, so thank you. This is a really special event. And what I was just thinking about was how not that many people can be honored in this. I mean, this is a bench, but look at what we've got here. I mean, his life and his legacy lives on through this school and this university, and that's a really cool thing. And Vairam, a lot of that is thanks to you, so thank you for that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about his life. Maybe you know it already, but I can't miss this opportunity. He was really a special man. He had a profound impact on a lot of people. His grandchildren and later great-grandchildren called him Pops, so I'm going to refer to him as Pops during this because I never called him anything else. Reflecting on his life, I think it was defined by 4 pillars: his dedication to service, his commitment to his family, his passion for hard work, and his love for education and ethics, particularly the education provided by this university. So the first defining pillar was service, and what you may not know is that at the age of 17, he enlisted in the Navy. And at one point in his service, he was assigned to guard a secret military site in Anacostia, which actually is right around the corner of the baseball stadium that Kevin spoke about a few minutes ago. And later, he learned that he was actually guarding the first thermal diffusion plant. Anybody know what that was? They were building the atomic bomb. Later, he was drafted into the Army to serve in the Korea conflict. And it's actually very rare to serve in both the Army and the Navy. The reason he was eligible for the draft for the Army was because you have to have served a full year in the Navy to have not been eligible for the draft in the Army. He served 362 days in the Navy. Talk about an accounting loophole. The second pillar of his life was his commitment to and his love for his family. He married my grandmother, Gloria, in 1950, and they moved to Greenwich Village where they lived the rest of their lives. Now, I know, Vairam, you've been to that apartment. Obviously, we have. She grew up there, so she's been there. What I wanted to mention about this apartment, which is pretty remarkable, is when they first moved in, they had a beautiful view of the Hudson River in New York, which if you've been to New York, big river. About 10 years after they moved in, the view was ruined because they built two really tall buildings called the Twin Towers. And that was a shame because their view of the river was destroyed. And then they sat at the same kitchen table on September 11th, 2001, watched those towers come down, and then about a decade later, my grandfather sat at the same table with his oatmeal and watched Freedom Tower, which is there now, go up. I can't imagine another image that shows the intergenerationality of my grandfather's life beyond that one. So he and my grandmother were married for about 57 years before she passed away. He was close with all of his children, with both of his children, his 6 grandchildren, and my 3 children, his great-grandchildren. And after he passed, he started, as Vairam mentioned, a beautiful 17-year relationship with Isla. And he and Isla traveled here many times to Mizzou, and there's a great picture of them right there, which is not a coincidence in terms of the placement of this bench. And Isla is also beloved by this community here and has been here many times, and we hope to get her back again. The third defining pillar of his life was his passion for hard work. In the 1950s, he joined the CPA firm of his father-in-law. At the time, the dual practice of accounting and law was banned by the AICPA and the American Bar Association. And so he worked with a few trusted friends and colleagues, and they fought that distinction in a case that eventually made it to the Supreme Court. And after that, to this day, the dual practice of accounting and law has thrived. And his career thrived too. He led a successful practice for more than 50 years. He took on many, many clients, large and small. Some famous ones, Arthur Fromer, you know Arthur Fromer, the travel book. Arthur Fromer was a lifelong client of his. He got a private tour of Amsterdam from Arthur Fromer. And The Fantastics, which was a musical, I don't know if it still has this distinction, but for a while it was the longest running show in New York. So the final pillar of his life was his love for ethics and education. After he retired, he committed himself to education, both his own education, but also supporting the education of others. So for himself, he enrolled in classes at NYU. He was taking philosophy, ethics, Greek, and he took these classes very seriously. He did not audit the classes. He said that if I'm going to take classes, I'm going to take them seriously. And one time I was visiting New York, and I called him and asked to have dinner, and he said, "Oh, I'd love to, honey, but I can't. I've got an exam in the morning." Of course, the other way that he dedicated his life to education was through his commitment to this great university and the Orin Ethics Symposium. He loved the university, its students, its faculty. He believed that ethics needs to be mandatory at every school and in every discipline, but certainly at this school and in accounting. Thousands of students have been impacted by this symposium. You said 10,000, I'll take that. Maybe 20,000, who knows? It's accounting, right? We can round up. That's a joke. We're here for the Ethics Symposium. Thousands of students have been impacted him, and recently, Elise Bartley's been teaching courses in ethics, which are not mandatory yet, but I'm working on you guys to make that happen. So his gift will make sure that the symposium continues forever, and I commit with my family to honor his legacy by continuing to work with the university here to expand ethics education and ethics programming. So I'd like to close. I mean, he could not have had a better partner, Vairam, and you. You heard me mention it earlier. Vairam came to New York and spoke at his funeral, which was very touching. And although I know you were speaking for you, you were really also speaking on behalf of the entire university, which was really a very meaningful thing. So thank you all for being here. I love the placement. It looks beautiful. I'm glad to hear that students are using it. Stop kicking students off of it to prepare for this day. It's great. And the last thing I can say is Carpe Diem. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming, joining us on this very, very special occasion and braving this weather here. I'm deeply touched by the passion Mr. Orin had, and we will do everything possible to do right by his legacy, and we hope to continue this relationship for a long time. Thank you. Enjoy the day.